What's good, y'all? It's Lakeith Dion. I'm back in this bitch. But I got a question for y'all. When you think of the word with the term red pill, what do you think, huh? Who or what comes to mind when you hear those words? You know, there was a time, I would say probably maybe like 10 years ago, when the red pill ideology it was useful to a lot of men because it was geared towards the self improvement and the self reliance of men that men over the course of years believed that they had lost due to societal pressures. Um, in 2024, however, it's not the same. Now we have conflated the red pill, or I guess the men's improvement, the whole MGTOW thing, men going their own way. That's kind of its own thing too, but they're all kind of the same. Men were looking for a way back into their manhood. It seemed a bit healthier back then, but now it's sort of evolved or devolved into this weird like place of hatred for many things. It's like this. It's like someone crashing out in real life, but just more so like through an ideology rather than like seeing somebody actually lose their mind. It went from teaching and showing men how to improve upon their self esteem, their self worth, and their self reliance through the medium of hard work, um, self improvement in terms of like hygiene, personal care, all this and that, and doing it with a sense of self, doing it for oneself. Self care, self love, in a sense, right? It was just a glorified way of trying to show men how to love themselves again. Nowadays, we have a lot of people who have pioneered this ideology, right? And to me, it's not so much the ideology. I get why a lot of people tend to stay away from it now. It has become something way different than what it was supposed to be. Um, but I think that's due to a lot of the bad actors that come and go through the red pill space. Like we've had a lot of them. You've got guys like, Fresh and Fit. You've got your Rolo Tomasis. You've got your Donovan Sharps. Um, and to some degree, you even got like guys like your Anthony Spades, the Sigma male guys and stuff like that. I'll talk about that later because that's kind of a goofy thing, but I don't take that too seriously. I do take the red pill thing seriously because I think that in its inception, had it gone a different way, it could have been good for a lot of different dudes. But certain people, certain characters have seen the market for this type of I won't say content, but this sort of unorthodox mindset, and they've been able to create a lifestyle from it. Or rather, they've been able to put up a false lifestyle from it. They've taken the tenets of the red pill and they've materialized a lot of it. Nowadays, you see guys and all they want is all the cars, all the jewelry, all the women, this, that, and the third. And they're teaching men that this is the road to self improvement, right? Like, oh, having these things is going to get you what you want, right? It's all at the behest of a woman. In spite of the red pill's seeming hatred towards women nowadays, everything that they do is to procure as many women as they desire, right? It's still for a woman. All right. So they've taken the self-love aspect out of it already. So that's a huge red flag. You're not doing this for yourself anymore. Then we have people writing entire books. They're creating literature on ways to be more of a sufficient man and ways to further dominate women, you know, because men haven't done that enough over the course of humanity, I guess. So we got to write books about it to solidify the ideas. I'm not saying that women are perfect, but what I am saying that there are some men in this world who will take advantage of other men to hide their own insecurities and problems, right? They'll gaslight and make it seem like, oh, well, these issues are issues that all men face. When in reality, these are very specific issues that very specific men would face if you actually look at what these guys are trying to promote and tell you what's right and wrong. right? This isn't stuff that the average man would experience. The average man would experience a healthy life if he played by his own set of rules and didn't look to other men to try to figure out how to be a man in the first place, you know? So there's give and take in terms of like, you know, the producers of this sort of content and the people who watch it, right? The uprise in this sort of situation, well, this sort of content does sort of show that there is a problem with men deeper than just the material like situation of it. Oh, like, oh, guys don't have money and cars and this and that, and that's why they don't get women. Through this advent, we have started to see that that's not the reason why, right? There are character issues, there are societal issues, there are personal issues. There is just a matter of issues that goes on in one's life that might prevent them from meeting somebody that's good for them. And that's cool. Things can be worked through. But when you have people in your face putting up this facade trying to tell you, hey, look, you're sad because you don't have this, that, and the third, you know, or go to the gym or, get some money, this and that, buy my course, et cetera, buy my book, et cetera. I find it funny that these men have solutions or they claim they do, but they're always behind a paywall, behind some form of extra content that one would need to go in their wallet to even get. You know what I'm saying? So now these men are sad and broke. They were already that, but now they're going even more broke. It's like the church, right? You give money to the church, your last dollar, you ain't got nothing. They tell you God's gonna give it back to you tenfold. It doesn't happen like that. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with these guys. You're not getting anything useful. All you're getting is a hole in your pocket and a bigger one each time you go back. The information now that's being given, it's all fluff. It's all, oh hey, look y'all see the way I live, right? Right. It's like putting on a show. Something is drastically underwhelming here. So we got to put up this big, huge thing to distract people from what we really want. Because if you sedate people and you put them within proximity of the things that they desire without them quite having it, they're more susceptible to hear you out and try to um, do what it is that you do in order to get what you got. Because as far as they're concerned, oh well, shit, everything I want is right here in my face. These motherfuckers have it. So all I gotta do is just do what they told me to do, and I'll get it right. No, that's not how this works. Now let me explain. We gotta do a little deep dive to go. History lesson, I guess. So back in the day, I say like a decade ago, men's improvement, it became a bit of a thing. This all pretty much started with the court systems, right? Child support, custody, divorce issues, things like that. The whole men's improvement in standing up for men's rights, all of this, the bullshit that you see today, stemmed from what would have been a pretty much wholesome endeavor for men if it had stayed on that route. Now there are sections of like people and things that stay on that route, but those are not really mainstream, and you're not going to hear too much about that. But there are actual groups and people who have stuck to the code, who knew the assignment and didn't deviate. These YouTube guys, these internet guys, however, they've taken it, they've put spins on it, they've projected their own falsehoods and insecurities into it. So they kind of, it's not, it's like, how do I describe it? It's like somebody trying to be a bartender for the first time, right? But they don't know how to make drinks, so they just putting shit together, hoping it works. It's like that. They've taken some shit, they put some shit together, and now we have what is the red pill of today, which is just a bunch of crash out men who are angry at women for a variety of different reasons. It's hard to have. It's hard to wrap your head around if you're just trying to look at it from a normal person's perspective. You can't be normal to rationalize this sort of logic. That's where people who see it and don't understand it go wrong. You're only going to frustrate yourself. It takes a particular mind, a mind that has been damaged by their own shortcomings, but also by the falsehoods and shortcomings of others that they see, i.e., oh, there's a story about a man who has been done wrong by this woman, and oh, see, oh, well, now you see what women do when you give them power. This is why they shouldn't vote. type. You know what I mean? You hear a lot of goofy, half thought out things from a lot of red pill men and even red pill women too, because those they exist as well. Not as much as the men, but they do exist. And they all say a bunch of just hateful things that they pass off as advice, but really isn't advice, right? Like if you're telling guys that they should have sex with a certain amount of women before they decide, you know, who they want to be with or not, that kind of defeats the whole point, right? Like the end goal is to find a woman, but your strategy is to do everything possible under the sun to make sure that the end goal situation never even occurs. You get what I mean? Like how do you get to the good woman? You can't fuck your way to the good woman. That's the idea. That's just one instance of a dumb take. But there are others. There's a book in circulation right now written by a man named Amru Fudul, and y'all might know him as Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit. It's called Why Women Deserve Less. Now, I have not read the book, and I don't want to. But if you guys want me to, I can read it and do a review on it on the channel. I wouldn't mind that. I'm not gonna do like it's gonna be audio, of course. I'm gonna just read it, not to you guys, but I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna give my opinion on it. But aside from that, I did get cliff notes of the book, right? Like just some points I needed to see, chapter, names and stuff like that, certain bits and pieces. And from what I understand, there's a growing ideology among men that women are starting to dominate society, or that everything that's being done is to placate a woman. And in certain situations, yeah, but the reality of that is that's always been the case. Women have always been placated to. This is not a new facet of society. Now, I get that you might want that to change, but you have to look at the consequences that will come after that, considering that society has been built upon that principle. So if you take that away and then you just, what is the end goal? You don't have something to put in place for it. You just want to get rid of shit, but you don't really want to solve a problem. You just want your hatred to make sense, but it doesn't, right? The red pill has become a hateful space of people who lie about who they are to other people. Think about this, right? If you're someone who's struggling in your manhood and you look up to some of these guys and you need guidance and reassurance from them, right? Remember this: you're in a fucked up position. You're being told things by people who are also in a fucked up position, but they try to look pretty while they do it. So it's one of those, if not everything that glitters is gold situation, but it glitters, so you think it's gold. That's why a lot of these guys keep following it, because they don't see past the glitter and gold. They can't see past that. Their minds aren't healthy enough for them to see that they're being played, that their manhood is being taken advantage of by people who know their insecurities, understand them, and are using them against them just to make a quick buck. Now that is kind of fucked up. Me personally, I would never use any service provided by anyone who calls themselves a red pill content creator, or as a quote unquote alpha male or a sigma male, whatever the fuck that is. Oh yeah, and to touch on the sigma male thing, I actually do kind of know what that is because I did my research on that. A sigma male, I suppose, it's like a hybrid in a sense, right? He's got some traits of the alpha male and some traits of the beta male, I suppose, and he blends together and he's his own thing. He's above the confines of dominance and submission. He's just a singular man, a lone wolf, if you will. Do with that information what y'all will, but I'm about to just move the fuck on back to what I was saying before. Anyway, with the red pill content in 2024, you're starting to see not only its rise, but also its fall, right? I'd say the last 3, 4 years have been booming for this sort of content, but in the past year or so, it's been dying rapidly because of people being people, right? And when you get a bunch of people who are lying for a living, who are putting up facades for a living, and then they all culminate and they try to do business together, guess what's going to happen? Everyone's still going to be on the same shit that they were on when they were dealing with their viewers. They're gonna keep putting up facades. They're gonna keep trying to run game, and they're all gonna be doing crazy, stupid shit, right? Like some of these guys are just wired differently than the rest of us, y'all. Some of these men that we have professing to be alpha males or high value men, that's the new like buzzword for men nowadays. Now every man thinks he's a high value man, right? No one still knows what one is truly. It's a subjective title. It's one of those things like, oh, what is, what is beauty? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So I guess high value is in the eye of the beholder too, because it's a different definition of who you ask, right? Don't think too much about that part. That's not really important, the high value thing. What's more so important is the people who are making these claims and setting the standards for this shit, right? Because other men are falling in line with it. And they're like, okay, I'm cool with this definition because so and so said this, or so and so said this is that, so I'm gonna aspire for that, right? It's just like men forget everything they've been through in their life. Will hear some shit from another guy who they don't know and be like, you know what? That's the way to go. I'm gonna run with that. And I don't know. I don't know how men have gotten to this state. I don't know how we got there where we're listening to people who we know are frauds, openly frauds. Like they don't even care to hide it at this point. Their fraudulent nature is too powerful. They can't hide it even if they want to. Yet we still follow them because of desperation, because we're falling for their bullshit. We're not seeing that these guys are utilizing the weakness of men of today and they're getting paid off of it. It is kind of sick. But what worries me the most is this sort of stuff spreading to young men, because there are a lot of guys who have these takes. Some of them aren't, I guess, some of them aren't even necessarily red pill, but they're championed by red pill men, right? And then you ask yourself, when you hear kids imitating these guys, when you hear kids saying their catchphrases and using slurs and words that they don't even fully understand because they heard these certain people use it in the context that they did. As an adult male, can you really rationalize seeing that and still being on board with the people who perpetrate that type of situation? Because if I'm watching kids fall for this shit and I'm seeing it have a negative influence and aspect on their life, I would be remiss to. It would be dumb of me to think that as an adult, I would get the longer end of the stick, or I'm about to get the good ending at this bitch. And it's like, no, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. That shit gonna happen to you too. And I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where we can recover, because here's the thing: the red pill is dying out, but its effects that it has on men is not dying out. That's the bigger issue. Like, yeah, we can get rid of the bad actors, but what they've done, this shit is in perpetuity now. That means that it's out there, right? They're not going to be the last ones of their kind. Other people are going to try to revitalize and revamp what they've done because it worked. Maybe not now, but I can see that happening again someday. The red pill situation, it's going to rise up again if the state of manhood does not change for the better, at least. But if it does not change for the better, yeah, men are cooked within the next like 4 to 8 years. We'll be cooked, you know? We won't have anything. We're just gonna be walking around this bitch. Well, you know what the red pill reminds me of? It's sort of like male feminism in a sense that it's a group of men who seemingly just hate the way that society tends to coddle women over men. And I'm at a loss for words, y'all. Like because the whole this entire red pill thing, it's been a journey for me. I've never engaged really in red pill content intentionally, but I have reviewed a lot of the ideologies behind it, and I've looked into a lot of the people who profess these sorts of ideals. And I can't say I haven't met a one that actually stands for anything. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And it was something that was destined to fail because the precipice, the entire point of it all was from a weak standpoint. The men are weak now. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to toughen men up by making them weaker in a weird way, right? But they don't really care about men. They just want men's money. It's alternative prostitution. Hey, don't give your money to these whores. Give your money to us and come vent about these whores and get nothing in return for it. Come hang out with us on our fake boats and our fake this and that while we lie to you and say it's something else. Let's do that. We can do all that, and I'm gonna charge you an arm and a leg. But just know your situation with the hoes ain't gonna change. You still ain't got it. But we got that money though. The check cleared. So hey, you can go about your business. That's how they treat us. That's how they're gonna treat all men if we keep falling for this shit. But I'm over it. I've never looked at the red pill as something that was useful. It was interesting, but I don't think it's useful for men. I don't think men need to go to other men who don't have an idea of even themselves as men or what to do as a man outside of being a narcissistic asshole. They think that that's manhood, and that's not manhood. That's not even real life. That's not man or womanhood. Who the fuck wants to be that? Nobody. But guys, tell me what you think. I'm done ranting on this situation. It's just funny to me that the majority of these red pill guys have been exposed as fraudulent or fake or simply just not it, not the type of person that needs to be talking about this. Again, I'll say it one more time. I don't have a problem with the ideology. I got a problem with the people who are representing it now. So yeah, that's the end of the video. I'm Lakeith Dion. Y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe, and I will see y'all when I see y'all. Take care.